So here I am out here on another hike, and we're going through Kensington today, Wild Wing Trail, and I have a little bit of something I want to talk to you guys about, something I've been learning this week, and a couple things that I think might benefit some others. So come on with me. Early on in my sobriety, I named my anxiety voice. When I was about 12 years old, I went to a basketball camp, and there was a kid there named Howie. He was like a little guy, but he was a bully, and I had to play against him, and he stayed in the same dorms as I was in. Every time I saw him, he was picking on me, and him and his friends were laughing, and I really didn't know how to deal with that other than to like beat him on the basketball court, which I think I did. But when I got home that week, I didn't really have an outlet, so I asked my mom if I could beat up this pillow, and she said yeah, this pillow on our couch, just a little decorative pillow. But anyway, I called it Howie, and I beat on it. And I always thought about that, kind of laugh at it, you know, now, but I used that name Howie as my voice, the one that would make me want to drink or think of drinking early on in my sobriety. That voice that makes you doubt yourself, the voice that tells you that you can't do this, or you're no good at this, or just give up. That voice, called him Howie and put him in his place. And so yeah, a lot of me and my friends on our community just named that voice. A lot of people called it Wine Witch. I wasn't a wine drinker, so mine was more beer or liquor, but I had my bouts with wine too. But anyway, that voice, I put it in its place. It didn't take long. I was able to, within a couple weeks of naming it, start to quiet it down and be like, you know, every time I get through these urges and I tell it off, I feel better for the next one. And I think it can be like that with any urge that we have to do anything that holds us back, not just alcohol, whatever your vice is. If you're able to name that voice in you that doubts yourself and put it in its rightful place, anything's possible. Today's topic is about forgiveness, and to me, forgiveness is key to having a good life, especially a good life in sobriety. It's one of the first things that has to be done in order to move on into your recovery. And so I can't speak to just not having to forgive myself, because I spent 27 years drinking, and so I can't help but relate my experience to my drinking life. But when I quit drinking, I spent maybe 3 months still sad and still anxious about the people that I hurt, and I'd beat myself up over it. Not a lot. I mean, I tried not to dwell on it, but it was there, and it was hanging on me. And if it was hanging on me for those 3 months, what was it like for my entire life, right? I mean, the things I would ruminate on were weighing me down for a long time, and those were the things that I had to kind of heal when I quit drinking. And so as I've grown in my faith, my pastor has been talking recently about certain things that kind of stick out to me in regards to early on in my recovery, so like 4 years ago. And one of the things is how it's easier to hurt people or be mean to them than it is to actually give them grace, forgive them, and be nice to them. In fact, when I first quit drinking, for like maybe the first 6 months, even maybe even up to a year, I felt kind of uncomfortable being nice. As sad as that is to say, it was like cheesy to me to always be positive and not antagonize people that I normally would have, and instead replace that with not saying anything sometimes when I normally would have that urge or that reaction to want to say something. Instead of saying it, I would just not say it. And that's one of the things that I find is beneficial and gives you more of a lasting kind of a peaceful feeling if you can not do those things, instead just not say anything, see how that goes. And I think you might find, like I did, that those antagonistic ways really just kind of hold you back. Another topic kind of came up in the church sermon last week. It was worldly sorrow or godly sorrow. And that got me thinking back on my sadness early on in my sobriety and how I had to kind of heal from years of that. And for so long, I pitied myself. I felt sorry for myself. I was sad and anxious when I got called out or caught with my bad behaviors or habits, and it made me sad and anxious. But that's like worldly sorrow. And godly sorrow is more or less you acknowledging the fact that what you're doing is hurting God. It's making God feel bad. And so if I put my cares and my feelings and my anxieties and everything on myself, yeah, I'm never gonna get better. When I first quit drinking, just before that, I begged God to take me out of the pain. I mean, it was the pandemic, and it was the first month of that, and all the anxiety that went along with trying to stay healthy and quit drinking and not being able to, and all that kind of stuff was weighing me down. By the grace of God, I was able to just quit the drinking because of a lash out that I had at my family. It was a catalyst to get me to really question what I was doing with myself with drinking. I was able to start to acknowledge that God was there, and what I was doing was going against His will. And instead of feeling bad about myself or bad about the choices I was making, I started to say, you know, God, I want to do your will, and I feel bad that what I'm doing is not in your glory. It's not glorifying you. It's not making you feel good. It's hurting you, and it's not part of your kingdom. So it was at that time when I started to really look to God and look outside of myself for the help that I needed, and found a community of people that were getting sober, were looking to get sober. Found a therapist who specialized in addiction recovery, and that just happened to be who was available when I asked to schedule it, and it worked out perfectly. And his addiction was to cocaine, where mine was to alcohol, but it's all falls under this kind of the same umbrella, where he gets it, you know what I mean? People that were addicted to chemicals, drugs, alcohol, whatever, I think most people get it, how difficult it is that you've been coping with this dependency on it, and gain this dependency on it for so long that it just became an addiction. And up until that point, I really just thought it was a habit, and I said to myself, hey, I can quit anytime. But that wasn't true. That was a lie that I told myself. And again, it was a lie, that internal voice of mine I would say it was the devil, but it was a demon voice that told me, you know, you're no good. You got to keep doing this. And this is how you're going to cope with your life. There's a little chipmunk. They come right up to you here. They want you to feed them. Hi, buddy. Here's a little bit of a look out here. This week I had a Toastmasters International meeting, and it was a very interesting meeting. It was something where I learned how to speak a little bit better, kind of work on my speech. I had to talk about asparagus for over 2 minutes. And everybody had like a food topic and you didn't know what it was until you started. But it was interesting. I got through it 2 minutes and 17 seconds and I only had one and one so. So I did a really good job, I thought, especially for my first time. I'm going to do an in-person one in 2 weeks and see if I like it. Maybe if I like it, I'll commit to it, pay the money for 6 months and go to it every 2 weeks and hopefully kind of get a grasp on a little bit more public speaking, a little more fluidly, that kind of thing. So yeah, just every day bettering myself, every week trying new things, and it's just it's one of the blessings and for my 4 years sober recently for my birthday. And on the front of it, it's got a hiker and in the mountains with a backpack and some trekking poles. She knows I like hiking. And on the back of it is a quote from Nelson Mandela, and it said, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." That is an inspirational quote that I'll never forget because it's so true. When we fall, it's our responsibility to get back up and do it again, try again, keep trying, try something different, you know, learn from our mistakes and grow. That's what I do. I try to live in God's glory. Everything I do, I try to just keep in mind that I'm doing this for God's glory. I mean, these YouTube videos I'm doing because it was a calling. It was something that I felt I should do. I always felt it. I was never comfortable in front of the camera making videos, really. I did it once or twice 15 years ago, but after that I never did it again, and that was for a speech class that I had. I had no choice but to do it. Now, like I said, with the Toastmasters, with these videos I'm doing, it's step by step. It's gradual. It doesn't all come at one time. You just got to keep trying. If you're sober, congratulations. If you've got some sober time under your belt, it's awesome. Keep it up. If you're trying to get sober and you have a slip here and there or a full-blown relapse, don't beat yourself up. You know, you're questioning your drinking. I was in that state for a long time, decades actually, from my 20s. And then I rehashed it again in my 30s, especially my late 30s and early 40s. But it took the pandemic and me just feeling like I was going to lose everything if I didn't make a change. And it wasn't worth it. My soul was hurting. My spirit was crushed. And it kept getting crushed. It wasn't getting any better. Once I gave up alcohol, started to find different things to do, more productive things to spend my time on this earth, things got better, and they continue to. Wherever you are in your journey, keep doing it, keep going, keep questioning things. It's hot out here. Getting a little red, but keep up the good work, Have a great sober day, and we'll talk to you soon.